Hello, fellow automators. I'm excited to share with you a new way to trigger your Keyboard Maestro macros. For a while, I've been wanting to be able to have Google Chrome let Keyboard Maestro know that I've navigated to a particular web page so that I can trigger a macro to do whatever, right? So what I did is I created a Google Chrome extension, and I'll share that with you here. So if you've never created a Google Chrome extension before, pull up your extensions page, turn on developer mode. That will bring up this load unpacked button. You want to select that, and the files that you've downloaded that I'm going to show you here in a minute, you'll select the folder that those are in, and it will load the extension. That easy. Really exciting. Now, we are going to have this extension when we navigate to a particular page. It is going to call this sample macro. Now this macro is really basic. All it does is it logs some information based on what the Chrome title, Chrome URL, and the past value is from the Google Chrome extension. So how does this work? Well, in the Google Chrome extension, we have a manifest file. We've requested the tabs permission so we can get details on what pages are being loaded, and we're checking those in our service worker running in the background. So this background script subscribes to the onUpdate events from the Chrome tabs, and then we're checking the tab info, change info, and tab. That's tab ID. We're checking whether it's being loaded or whether it's completed. So this triggers when you start loading the page, and this triggers when Chrome thinks it is done loading the page. I'm also doing some basic filtering just to prevent getting some weird URLs through there, and then you can do your matching. So if the URL matches any page on example.com, call this macro. If the title matches, call this macro. If the URL matches, call this macro. And here's an example of passing some parameters to it. So it's just a really simple function that we call the UUID of the macro, optional value, and then we call our Keyboard Maestro web server. Now if you've never used that before, you open up Keyboard Maestro, open up the preferences, go to web server, and enable the web server. You want to make sure this port matches the same in the browser extension. And then it's just that easy. So we've set 1, so anything on example.com. Let's go ahead and show that, and our macro is going to just log this information. So if we pull up the console, see it's blank right now. So we'll go to example.com, go back to the console, and there you go. Our macro was triggered. This is what I've been wanting for a really long time, and it's going to be so easy for you. Now, if you want to add a whole bunch of different filters, trigger on different pages, you can do that. It's all right here. It's just pretty simple logic. You just have to add your macros in here. Now, I've added the option to send a value because one particular thing, when you are loading URLs, you can hold down the Command key and load a tab in the background. So when Keyboard Maestro pulls the title or the URL, that's going to be for the frontmost tab, but this is the tab that I just opened. So you can pass in the browser extension the URL that was opened by the browser, and then in the macro you can compare the two to see if they're the same. If they're not the same, then you can assume that a tab was opened in the background or something like that. Now, when you add a new macro or you make changes to this, all you got to do is save this page, come back to your extensions on Google Chrome, and there's this reload button. That will reload the configurations so that you've got all those changes loaded. It does that because it doesn't dynamically load it each time. It needs to be performant and all that kind of stuff. The other thing I want to share is these errors that show up. You don't have to worry about those. They disappeared because we just reloaded it. And Chrome broke on me. There we go. So it's going to show errors, and that is because when we call our macro, we're just doing a simple fetch call, really simple, but this is going to get blocked by CORS policy. And that's okay because it's still going to go through. We just won't be able to do anything with the response. And Google Chrome is going to say, hey, this is an error. So if you actually click on this, you can inspect your service worker. And let's load up example.com again. And here in the service worker, DevTools, you can see, yeah, this was blocked because of a CORS error. But that's totally okay because it doesn't matter. It still went through. So there you go. Triggering Keyboard Maestro macros by navigating to specific domains or URLs in your Google Chrome browser. Enjoy!